Hey guys, it's Darwin here with my weekly Q&A to answer more of your questions. If you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this week's first question. After my backpacking trip this weekend, I noticed trail etiquette is almost gone. What are your thoughts on why people don't practice trail etiquette anymore? Like stepping aside, going down to people going up. That is a great question, Matt. And not too long ago, I actually made a video on trail etiquette on the Appalachian Trail in specific, but that can be kind of applied to any type of trail, things that you should do and things that you shouldn't do whenever you're out hiking to help respect others and help respect the trail and respect nature. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. I'll leave the link up here somewhere in the corner, and you can definitely go check that out. But as far as why people don't practice good trail etiquette, I don't know, man. That's a really good question. I'm really kind of old school on the way that I think in a lot of things, not only on the trail, but just in everyday life, driving, communication skills. So sometimes it really drives me like batshit crazy that people just can't be respectful to one another. The world would be such a better place if people just had a little bit of etiquette in everything and respected each other. But definitely go check that video out because I kind of break down some of my pet peeves on certain trail etiquette, things you should do, things you shouldn't do. But as far as why people don't practice it, your guess is as good as mine. Do you pay any attention to your weight while you hike? Do you lose a noticeable amount of weight or fat on long through hikes? Or do you try to eat enough to stay the same? Great question, Grant. That is a huge contributing factor to why a lot of thru hikers have big time problems during their long distance hikes. When you're out there, you are burning a ton of calories and losing a ton of weight. Statistics kind of show that men lose a ton of weight while they're out there, and women lose a lot of weight but also gain a lot of muscle, which is super interesting. And this happened to Snuggles and I in 2015. I lost a dramatic amount of weight. Now, I did keep that in mind before we went out and hiked the trail, and I actually started eating a lot and gaining weight before we hit the trail because I knew that I would have a problem with that. Now, me having a triathlon racing background and a racing career, I was pretty lean before we went and hiked the trail, and we were pescatarian, which is a vegetarian that only eats fish, for 8 years. So before we went and hiked the trail, we actually started eating meat and heavy fats again just so we could gain weight, because I knew that when I got out there and I was active every single day and putting in those miles, that I would shed a stupid amount of weight. So I do the same thing now. Before I hit a trail, or even before I do a section or maybe even a weekend trip, I'll load up on calories before I go and try to gain weight, because I know within that first week or first 2 weeks, I'm gonna shed a ton of it, and I wanna make sure that I keep healthy. Whenever we got into a town on the AT, there was kind of this big saying going around about getting fat. You wouldn't say we're gonna go get some food or some town food. You'd say we're gonna go get fat. And that's why thru hikers eat so damn much, is because your metabolism just shoots through the roof and you burn through that stuff so fast. So if you're planning on doing a long distance hike, definitely keep up with your calories. Make sure you're eating enough, because if not, you can lose too much weight, it can make you sick, and it can cause injury. I know a couple hikers in 2015 that actually had to end their hike because of nutrition problems, so definitely keep up on that. Get fat before you hit the trail, and make sure you're eating enough calories. Was your process of becoming a minimalist challenging? Or if not your term, I'm just asking about your simplistic/basic style. I like it. Do you and Snuggles see this as a forever thing? So, good question, Deb. As most of you might know, if you've been following my videos and watching my Q&As, in 2014, my wife Snuggles and I sold about 95% of the things that we owned to live this more simplistic, minimalist lifestyle. For a handful of reasons. We mainly did it because we were going to go out and hike the AT, and we didn't want to come back to all this stuff. We wanted it to be easier on us. Plus, we were wanting to relocate and do some traveling after we did the trail. So to do this, we kind of consolidated our life and started living this more minimalist lifestyle. Now, the more that we lived it, the more that we really got into it, and the more minimalist we've become. In about a week, we are actually moving into a mini camper full time, and we're about to hit the road again in September to live an even more minimalist lifestyle. So in answer to your question, Deb, was it challenging? At first, yeah, we had this big house, 2 cars, we had careers. I even owned a recording studio that we ran out of the basement of the house. So we had all of this stuff. I was a big time musician, had a lot of guitars and equipment and amps. Over the entire year of 2014, we slowly started getting rid of the things that we decided that we didn't necessarily need. At first, how the process started was we started looking at things that we hadn't used in a long time, and we decided if we haven't used this in a month, we need to get rid of it because we're not using it in everyday life, so it's not really that important. It's just stuff sitting around. And then as we started to do that, we started to think about, well, what do we really need to live? Are these things essential? Do they have multi-purposes? Can we use them in a more minimalist lifestyle? No, we got rid of them. We sold things, we donated things, we gave things away. And as we started doing this, and as the ball started rolling, it started getting easier and easier. And now we don't even think about it. It's a really easy decision. We kind of look at an item and say, how many uses can I get out of this? Am I using it every day? Yes, it stays. If no, we just get rid of it. And as you get used to that lifestyle, it's much, much easier, and then you don't even think about it. It's just kind of how you live. And as far as if Snuggles and I see it as a forever thing, I don't know. We kind of take it day by day. We don't really know what the future holds for us. We have some ideas of things that we want to do, but you never know. One thing that I've learned in like the 10 years that we've been married and all the stuff that we've done is you can never count on anything. What we're doing now, I would have never dreamed we would have been doing just 2 years ago. So having like those set plans and those ideas for the future, they're nice to have, and it's a good guideline to go off of, but I don't count on anything. So who knows? In like 3 years, we could have some huge house and a swimming pool in Europe. You never, ever know. So you kind of just take it day by day. We love living simplistic, and it definitely works for our lifestyle and what we like to do. Darwin, if the snow in the Sierras is as deep next year as it is this year, what's your plan? Hike or bypass? Good question. I've been thinking about that a lot. So if you guys have been following along, you might know from last year I said I was going to hike the PCT this year. I didn't for a handful of reasons. One, Snuggles and I wanted to kind of completely shake up the snow globe again and start traveling more and invest more time into the channel and videos. But two, I saw that the Sierras were just getting slammed with snow, and I really didn't want to kind of risk my hike. I'm a hardcore traditionalist when it comes to hiking. I like starting at point A and ending at point B. I don't like flipping around, cutting up my sections. And I knew that if I took the risk and went out and hiked this past April, that I was probably gonna have to bypass the Sierras, flip around, and do a hike that I wasn't really interested in doing. So that's another reason that I pushed it off till next year. Now, as far as what I'm going to do next year, if we get the same type of snow year, I don't think that we will, just because that was a very rare snow year. I think it's like one of the biggest that they've had in like years and years and years. But if for some reason the snow is bad, I'm probably gonna try to push my hike off till a little bit later, maybe the end of April, maybe going into May, and then just see how it is whenever I get out there. So if that happens, I'll probably push it off a little bit later. That way, in those first 700 miles before I even get anywhere near the Sierras, it'll have time to melt down a little bit, where I would be hiking through it like now, and I won't have to deal with as much snow. But I have no problem hiking in the snow, getting some crampons and an ice axe. I kind of anticipate that happening anyways, but I definitely don't want to be hiking if there's like 6 foot of snow on the ground. Would you ever sleep in a hammock when you're hiking, or is it uncomfortable? No, I like hammocks. I haven't really done a lot of hammock camping, just a little bit, which was like 2 years ago, but I eventually want to get more into hammock camping, not only to kind of have more knowledge of hammock camping, but also I feel like if you're a solo hiker, hammocking can sometimes be a little bit of a benefit, a little bit easier, and if you're hiking in the spring or summer, you don't need as much gear. Now, hiking in the winter, obviously you need more gear, like an under quilt, a top quilt, but hammock camping is something that I will eventually get into. Just not right now. I'm in the desert, so there's not a lot of trees to hang hammocks. But once Snuggles and I eventually get back out on the East Coast and back to the Blue Ridge Mountains, I'll definitely be taking up a little bit more hammock camping. Mr. Expert, I have a question. Should I go salmon fishing in Arkansas or get back on the CDT to get miles done to get that Triple Crown? Need to make that decision by August 10th. Tom, Toasted. So Tom Healy is actually a hiker trash buddy of mine. He also goes by Toasted Toad. I met him out on my CDT section hike in April of this year, and we put in a handful of days together. We traversed that whole Gila River section together. He's an awesome hiker, and he was going for his Triple Crown this year. So he's already put away the AT, he's put away the PCT, and he was working on a CDT, but he had some knee issues, which I can definitely relate to. Toasted man, fishing sounds awesome, especially because I know that you are a huge fisherman, but if you get back out on the CDT, August 10th, August 11th, around that time, I'll definitely join you for some sections, man. Next month, I'm definitely wanting to get back out there, especially here in New Mexico, maybe even in Colorado. So get a hold of me. I would love to get back out there and hike some sections with you. Fishing sounds fun, but you have a Triple Crown to get, sir, so get out on the trail, Toasted. You mentioned you like to get on the trail early, sometimes before daylight. Do you use any kind of reflective gear? No reflective gear. Just a headlamp, and yes, I do like to get out on the trail early. Don't really know why you would need reflective gear because there's no headlights or cars out there. Just a headlamp will work, man. Alright guys, last question of the week comes from Steve, and Steve says, are shelters on the AT for thru hikers more than section hikers? Sorry to be a bother with my question. Just been bugging me for 20 years since I was told I could be kicked out of a shelter when I was 13 with my scout troop. Thanks. So Steve, it's actually the opposite, man. Shelters on the AT are for everybody. The ATC has built those, and trail clubs and states have built those for everyone to enjoy. So whoever told you that was lying to you, or maybe they were just misinformed, but those shelters are for everyone. Now, like I said, it's kind of the opposite. In the Smoky Mountains and in the Shanties, it's actually backwards. If you are a thru hiker or a section hiker and you're in one of those shelters and someone comes in that has a backcountry permit for that national park, thru hikers can actually be kicked out of the shelter, which was kind of crazy to me, but it's true. Because those hikers have a certain backcountry permit that says they can only stay at that shelter for that night, they actually have a right to kick you out of a shelter. But I've never, ever heard of anyone being kicked out of a shelter because they weren't a thru hiker. It is for everyone to enjoy. It's why it's there. It sucks that for 20 years you've been thinking that, but no, if anyone ever says that, call them out on it. Now again, if you're in a national park, it can be different because of a backcountry permit. I was actually going to answer that a couple weeks ago, and I just got too many video questions, but I'm glad I finally got to answer your question, man. Alright guys, so if you want to leave a question for next week's Q&A, you can either leave it in the comment box below or send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, and then next week I'll answer as many as I possibly can. So I wanted to start taking a little bit at the end of each Q&A every week to kind of tell you guys what I have going on and what my thoughts are for the future, for the channel, for videos, so I figured I would fill you in. So Snuggles and I have about 1 week until we move into our camper full time. 1 week and we'll be living in our camper. We'll be giving up our apartment, and then in September we'll be hitting the road again, headed out to Joshua Tree National Park and that entire area just to travel, explore, to hike, and to live full time in that camper. On top of that, in September, Snuggles and I will be starting a weekly travel vlog series called Travel and Trail. And if you didn't get a chance yet, on Sunday I posted episode 0, which is more kind of a test footage, so definitely go check that out. I'll put the link up here in the corner somewhere if you want to go check out episode 0 of what is to come in September. And the last thing on my plate for next month is, number 1, I'll be going out to do a section of the CDT somewhere in New Mexico or Colorado. And then August 18th through the 20th, I'll be flying out to Cascade Locks, Oregon, right outside of Portland, to go to PCT Trail Days. So if any of you guys are in the area, want to get together, want to chat, have a beer, talk about gear, maybe even do some hiking, I'll be out there from the 18th through the 20th of next month. If you haven't had a chance yet, go over and check me out on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of new photos of some of the things that Snuggles and I have going on throughout the week, plus some pictures from some past hikes, so definitely go check those out. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and as always guys, thanks for watching.